Hello.
Good evening, all. Yes.
Yeah, I think we can start now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sunet. Good evening, all. Hope you all can hear me very well. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Welcome to the webinar, which is related to the highway design. As I mentioned the name of this webinar series, so change of the naval age highway design. Uh, while others are logging to the sessions, we can start it now because we have a limited period of time to conduct this session. Most importantly, I want to thank Mr. Sunet joining with us today as Kagol District Center ISL. I would like to thank Mr. Sunet. This is the second webinar actually which we are going to conduct aligned with our annual activity program. And as well as I would like to mention the president to the current session, Engineer Darak Vitarna. He is always a person who put collaborative effort together with our other executive members until become its success. I should remember him, and as well as executive member Engineer Iras Inan. Thank you very much for supporting by providing introducing Engineer Salva Vitana to us to arrange this valuable session. Uh, Same as always, our executive members are behind us to keep up with good works. Here I am not going to talk about lot more about the content of this webinar. It will talk by the Mr. Engineer Salovitana. I won't let me introduce lecture to the audience a bit more further. Engineer Salovitana, he's a graduate from University of Peradeniya as a civil engineer year 2004. He's completed his Master of Engineering degree from the University of Morato in year 2011. He's a chartered engineer and as a fellow ISL engineer. Engineer Salva Vitana served in an additional director highway design of Road Development Authority. He is a member of the Chartered Institution of the Highway and Transport in the United Kingdom, and also he is an invited lecturer for the highway design and ISL, University of Morato and University of Sri Javardhan for their CDB courses. So as well as BSc Engineering and M Engineering, Master of Engineering programs. In addition to that, his own research publications, he is a co-supervisor and co-author of many BSc and research publications across the Sri Lanka Academy of the Highway Engineering. So he's a Viva panelist for a Master of Engineering, Master of Philosophy Research in Sri Lanka National Universities. As well as he disciplinary breadth of the knowledge he has helped him authoring his celebrated publications, a complete guide to computer-aided highway design in Sri Lanka, which is royalty free for any interested highway professional to refer. Thank you very much again on behalf of the IESL Kegalle District Center. This is time to start the session.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Over to you.
Good evening to you all. So today I'm going to speak a little bit about challenges of naval age highway design. So what do you mean by this naval age highway design? Yeah. Now highway design is there with traditional methods that we are following. Okay, right? So, but now there is a problem with this highway design, not only in Sri Lanka, but in the entire world, that our traditional methodologies are not going to help us. Why? Right now the thing is this. Now don't think that I'm going to talk about this economic crisis and things that is out of my scope. Of course there is an economic crisis and we all know that, and we are suffering with that, but it is not the problem that today I'm going to address. I'm going to address a global phenomenon, that is how we are going to design highways and infrastructure, basically highways, according to the new world challenges. So what is our how we are going to do that in 21st century. Now, as an example, our traditional highway plan, that is just a study, preliminary survey, reconnaissance survey, detailed survey, and design. That is our traditional methodology of planning, right? So when we come to this study, so you are going to collect all the data that you are having, uh, maybe some maps, and some statistical data, and these things that we are going to collect. But the thing is, now of course these things have changed. Now even in the next study, what we are basically doing is we get the Google map, and then we are going to draw our road trace on top of that. Okay, so most of the things that we are doing have changed in the course of the 21st century. Okay, so in the university times, maybe you have heard, or maybe you have learned, this is how we are going to do the study, preliminary survey, reconnaissance survey, details. All these things are there, but the thing is that how we are going to do this have changed, right? So what are our novel challenges? Number one is climate change. Okay, all other things are coming behind this climate change. So we are talking about the climate change and how important is climate change to our daily lives and as engineers. With climate change, how we are going to design for the 21st century. So what is climate change? So we'll discuss that in a minute. Before that, I'll tell you something about these novel challenges. Number one is climate change, and then as engineers, infrastructure engineers, we have to think about resilient infrastructure design. So what do you mean by the resilient infrastructure design? So I'm going to tell you, right? And then there's something called net zero strategies. Maybe you haven't heard about these things. Net zero strategy is highly regarded in developed countries like United Kingdom. Actually, United Kingdom is the torchbearer of this net zero strategy, and they are going to make their emissions into zero by 2050. I think, yeah, by 2050 they are going to make their emissions into zero. So, are we planning these things now? Do you know that by year 2035 that there will be a worldwide diesel ban? Okay, so the diesel vehicles that we are going to use now, are you hoping to import some diesel vehicles once you get your permit, or once this vehicle market is going to open? Now think about it. Why? Because by 2035 there would be a worldwide, possibly there would be a worldwide diesel ban. Okay, so that is how we are going to shape our world into net zero strategy. So what's the role of civil engineer? So we have to be agents of change, and how we are going to become agents of change. And there is something called new normalcy. What do you mean by new normalcy? Now after the epidemic, everything, so you have to call it pandemic. Yeah, after the pandemic, everything has changed. Now there is something called new normalcy. How we are going to adapt ourselves as engineers and as policy makers, and as now in countries like ours, professionals, how we are going to adapt ourselves into new normalcy and how we are going to design in new normalcy. So what are the sustainability goals and how we are going to achieve them? Now don't think that our country is a small country and that we are not going to make any difference even if we are going to adopt these sustainability goals or no. No, every drop counts. As far as sustainability is considered, every drop counts. And we are far behind. We are far behind our goals. Okay, there is a goal set by the entire world to live with the climate change. That's one thing, and other thing is to adapt to climate change and how to avoid the bad consequences of climate change. And as engineers, we should be the torchbearers who are going to do this. These hurricanes and these bushfires and droughts and inundations. Okay, all these are just consequences of this climate change. So how we are going to adapt, right? Then you know there is a lot we can do. Civil engineers matter. Okay, from the start, from the antiquity, civil engineering was there. Even if you go back to 10,000 years ago, even though it is not called civil engineering was there. Okay, even before the irrigation. How did you do the irrigation without engineers? But only thing is you didn't call them engineers, right? So the engineer was there, civil engineer was there, right? Then why don't we matter? No, we matter, right? How? Like decision makers, and then we have our common sense, and how we are going to act. And the biggest thing that I want to tell you is that climate change is real. Okay, there are so many scientific evidences to prove that climate change is real, and some people still say, no, no, climate change is not real. As a human species, we don't have anything to do with that. That's wrong. So we have to get this concern. Okay, the climate change is real, and it is been, it's been the climate change is caused by the human activities. Now, after the industrial revolution, of course, for almost 200 years, we are emitting a hell a lot of carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide to our only planet that we know how to live. So, but you may ask me, yeah, as a civil engineer, how you are going to change it? We are not going to produce any, vehicles or something. We are not going to make any machines or something. So how we are going to do? No, we can. As an example, even though we are not part of the problem, we can be a part of the solution. Okay, but how? And that is exactly what we are going to discuss today, right? So first of all, we discuss a little bit about what is climate change. um, Climate change refers to long-term shifts in temperatures and weather patterns. So maybe sometimes you might say, okay, it's very hot these days. Maybe in our childhood, did you use a fan, an electric fan? No, in my case, I didn't use. Okay, because that was not that hot. Okay, so you could, because the things were different some 20, 30 years back. Okay, we didn't have this much of urbanization, and we didn't have this much of carbon emissions in this country, in this our small country, right? Now I have seen the people are not aware of these things. Okay, now as an example, when I go along this outer circle highway, I see there is a hell a lot of real estates industry coming in, and people like to face their residences to the expressway. Maybe beautiful, yeah, beautiful landscape. So once when somebody comes from your village, you can say, ah, okay, very nice. So this city landscape, that's good. You don't see any emission that is coming out of the vehicles, but our vehicles are not emission free. There is an emission. So all these emissions are coming into your home, and you are breathing them, right? So the temperature is going to rise. Now I'll tell you before I forget that. Now, what we mean by climate change is that temperatures are rising, and we have to do something to that. All right? And there is a goal by 2050, the temperature rise of the planet should be limited to 1.5 centigrades above before industrial levels. So this is only possible if you are going to go for this net zero strategy, and if you are going to cut our carbon emissions. And of course, are we following this methodology, or are we going along the track? Unfortunately, no. So that means we have to expect a lot of droughts, and a lot of inundations, bushfires, and El Ninos and El Ninas. These things we are going to expect, right? So when it comes to the main greenhouse gases that are causing climate change, include carbon dioxide and methane. How do they come? Transportation, deforestation, and desertification. Aren't these things the things that we were doing for so many years from our childhood that we have seen the transportation? Now, in our childhood, maybe only one person in a village or a township had a car. Now, every household is having a one car or two cars. So, we are promoting this carbon emission. Well, with this one, even though we are having, I mean, the developed world, they are having some strategy to avoid the ill effects of the climate change. Up to yet now, just think that we would reach net zero strategy by 2050, but still all these all these gases that have been already emitted to the atmosphere, they are not going to vanish to somewhere. They would still be there. The half life of the carbon is something like 100 to 200 years. So we have to live in a world where the climate has drastically changed. Understand? We have to live in a world where the climate has drastically changed. So that is where this resilient infrastructure design comes. Risks posed by natural hazards are expected to intensify as economies grow, urbanize, and grapple with climate change. Now, bushfires in Australia and these inundations in Bangladesh and India, right? And droughts in Africa. All these things are ill effects of climate change. And as civil engineers and as infrastructure designers, we have to adapt. But how we are going to adapt? As an example, I would say now that Australs, okay, now they are going to give up the idea called this 100-year flood. You know, throughout the entire our university life that we have been designed for 100-year flood, 50-year flood, or 25-year flood, or something like that. But Australians, they are going to give up the whole idea of this year flood. Why? Because you cannot predict anything. Okay, you cannot predict now 100-year flood. So you know that if it is 100-year flood, definitely it has to come within a scope of 100 years. But if your 100-year flood is coming by every 5 years time, what is the meaning of designing for 100-year flood? So how we are going to design, right? Now new strategies have to be formed and new inventions have to be made. Otherwise, we cannot survive as a species. So these roads, bridges, power networks, and other infrastructure assets are central to people's daily lives and economic opportunity. How such assets are planned, operated, and financed will shape resilience in the region. So resilience means, if a climatic calamity is being done at once, so you should have the means of transportation, you should have the means of electricity, you should have the means of telecommunication. One line may be blocked, but there should be other lines. Okay, so one line may be blocked, well, you cannot stop it, but there should be other means. How we are going to do that? Now, as an example, I would say now, inundation in and around Colombo is a very common thing. Okay, now maybe one town that is being surrounded by inundation, the floods, but there should be at least one infrastructure that you can provide the necessities like food and basic necessities. Even in the time of flooding, there should be an infrastructure network that you can provide these things. That is what you call an infrastructure design. Okay, so resilient infrastructure, uh, it's like you can maybe I think you can read these things. So create construction products you can. So it's too small for me to read. Anyway, so I'll come here. Connected organizations have resilience, climate change in mind, keep politicians on side and inform. So informing the politician is also one thing that we have to do from our side as professionals. Okay, that is why we are there. Okay, so politicians are, of course, they are the representative of the general public, and they do not have the expertise on all these things, like say engineering, medicine, IT, everything they don't have. But they are experts, so we are the experts, we are the professionals. So it is our responsibility to give our expertise to them. They are public representatives. Okay, it is no point just criticizing these things. We have to act our role, and we have to inform. So if you are going to plan this thing, that would happen, that could happen, right? Then just think about that. Make a conscious effort to change. Okay, now the resilience is something that it is not like giving solution to everything. Resilience is not giving solution to everything. Maybe we have to get used to live with it. So how we are going to live with it? Now, just as an example, you say if a town is going to be surrounded by flood. Now, this is the same example that I told a few minutes ago. If a town is going to be surrounded by flood, so we cannot always find means to avoid this. Maybe that is very costly. But instead, the resilience means we can say, okay, when the town is flooded, we provide separate means of transportation, we provide separate means of telecommunication, we provide separate means of food. Okay, this is the resilience, right? Then the cities, like, so sustainable cities. Sustainable cities means that now sustainable cities does not mean that everything is there, but you have to go for city planning. Okay, you have to go for city plan. So how you are going to plan a city? We haven't planned any city in this country. Even Colombo is not planned. Okay, it was just a port some few hundred years back, and then so many foreigners came, and they developed it as they saw fit. Okay, so the Dutch did something, the Portuguese did nothing, Dutch did something, and the English did something, and that we are doing something. So it is not planned at all. So, but you cannot be you cannot act that way in this modern world. The infrastructure planning is something that you have to do from the beginning. Then what do you mean by net zero? So net zero is cutting greenhouse gas emissions to as close to zero as possible, with any remaining emissions reabsorbed from the atmosphere by oceans and forests, for instance. Now, do you understand how dangerous is our situation as human species? Still we are emitting carbon and carbon related gases. Still we are emitting. In the same time, we expect the planet to absorb all of them by 2050. No, 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 that is not the thing. Now you just think about, say, I'll give you an example. Now just think about a sink, a water sink. Okay, so now you are going to open the tap, right? Now there is a drainage pipe also. Now once you open the tap, what will happen? There would be drainage. In the same time, the sink will start filling. Once you increase the water flow, then what will happen? Now there is drainage, but still the water level will start rising. Why? Because the speed that you are allowing the flow to come to the sink is much higher than the drainage capacity. Now what we are going to do? Go and open another tap. Actually, that was exactly what we were doing for these 200 years. We opened so many taps, and now the water level of the sink is rising like anything. Now what we are supposed to do? Close all the taps? That is not possible at all. So how you are going to go to your workplace? How you are going to go to? How you are going to do? The, I mean, how you are going to work with these factories? What will happen then? But one thing we can do, we can slow the flow. we can slow the flow up to a level that there is a balance, there is an equilibrium. Okay, so the water is coming, but still they are being drained out, and that is exactly what we are going to do here using net zero. So in there, how highway designers can help? One thing is public transport. Then using locally available materials, so we are not going to import anything, if possible. So we have to find the things, because importing material means, there is some carbon footprint. Now in developed countries, of course, for each and everything they are going to consider this carbon footprint. Okay, for each and everything they are going to consider. Now, you know that there are some carbon neutral websites? What do you mean by that? If there is a website, you have to host it somewhere. Maybe it is something like in a server. So how you are going to power the server? Using fossil fuels? In that case, it is not a green website. But just think that you are going to power the server using solar or wind power or hydroelectricity. Then it's going to be a green website. So your carbon footprint there is zero, almost zero. Now just think about it. Now, when it comes to promoting public transport, of course, we have to think now. If you are going by car, it's only one person, 5 spaces. But if you use the public transport, a bus, then the the amount of carbon that we are going to emit is going to be less. But then you will ask me the question. So you are also using the car. Why? That is why I am telling. We have to plan everything. So we have to have a public transport system that everybody can have a place there. Otherwise, otherwise you can't force people to use the public transport. It should be comfortable. Huh? It should be punctual. And these things, as transport planners, we can plan. Then design with sense and saving natural habitats. So everywhere where there is some natural habitat, so engineers are not there to go and destroy it. Engineers are there to save it as far as possible. So then you will ask me, what about development? Yes, development should be there. So maybe we can have some uh, other means of development rather than destroying natural habitats. So how civil engineers can help? Civil engineers can help, as I told earlier. We are not part of the problem, but we can a part of the solution. So we can help. Now let's discuss how we can help. Before that, we'll go for United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. There are 70. Now I'm not going to recite each one. No poverty, zero hunger, all these things we cannot handle, but there are some things that we can handle. Now, as a civil engineers, clean water and sanitation, then affordable and clean energy, and industry, innovation and infrastructure, then sustainable cities and communities, and climate action is common to all, life on land, life below water, and these are the things that we can handle as civil engineers. Then just a little bit about United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development adopted by all United Nations member states in 2015, right? So it's just like a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity. And there are 70 Sustainable Development Goals, which are an urgent call for action by all countries, developed and developing. Now, please remember, the planet is dumb. It doesn't know who emitted carbon. Okay, so it is not going to punish the country that which emitted most carbon. So the climate change is real and it is affecting all, big or small. So then in this United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, they recognize that ending poverty and other deprivations must go hand in hand with strategies that improve health and education, reduce inequality, and spur economic growth, all while tracking climate change and working to preserve our oceans and forests. So, I'm just going to discuss a little bit about, of course, I think we are running out of time very soon. Anyway, so I'm going to discuss a little bit about our challenges as highway engineers. So, one thing that we can actually do is selecting the best route to minimize environmental damage. Okay, so the route selection has to be done with care and diligence. So we can go and find the best route that minimizes the environmental damage. And then influence those in power to go for sustainable transport solutions like public transport. So why we are promoting private transport already? Okay, now as an example, if it is an expressway, it's of course promoting some private car usage. If it is a flyover, we are promoting private car usage, right? 4 lane road, 6 lane road, we are promoting private transport, I mean private car usage. So why can't we have a bus lane? Why can't we have LRTO monorail? Why can't we promote the rail transport? That is what we mean by the public transport. Encourage low carbon or zero carbon vehicle fleet, just like EVs, electrical vehicles. Okay, but you know the technology has to come. But one thing I'm always telling is, you know, these green technologies, of course, these things should come from the countries in the sun belt. What are the countries? The sun belt, like Sri Lanka and some African countries, and you know Brazil and things. Why? In Europe and Americas, they don't have sunlight as much as we have. We are a country that sun smiles every day for 365 days. So these things have come from our countries. We should not wait for these people to do it for us. Okay, and contribution in infrastructure development to alleviate poverty and inequality. Research on low carbon materials and construction methods. You know there are a lot. Now, as an example, instead of asphalt paved roads, why can't we go for macadam roads? At least a little bit. Even every drop counts. Even this little bit of change will have an exponential consequence in the future. Okay, then net zero payments. Okay, then recyclable materials, right? Lesser transportation of building materials. And this is how we as highway engineers can help in this task. Then I'll speak a little bit about public transport. Of course, you know, this is a very good graphical illustration how public transport is going to help fight the climate change. Okay, now you can see here that the same number of people, that how many cars are going here and how many bicycles, and if everybody is put into the bus, how you are going to have the space. Now this is of course talking about the space, but of course this is how we are going to reduce the carbon emissions, right? Well, bicycle lanes, that I have done some two researches on bicycle lanes, and I'm sorry to say that bicycle lanes of course is a good method, but still we'll have to do a lot to promote bicycle lanes in this country. Now, don't think I am talking against bicycle lanes or something. No, they are good. But the thing is, in our country, it's a bit difficult to promote. Why? Hot and humid country. Okay. So once you bicycle to your workplace, what will happen? You will be sweating like hell, right? That's number one, right? It's a hot country and humid country, and then this torrential pouring. So you cannot predict the rain. In the morning it is sun shining, but after some 30 minutes it's going to rain, so you are going to wet as a chicken, right? So you can't go to office like that. And another thing that I want to talk is, now you know, our professionals, they go to countries like Europe or America and they think, ah, okay, see that these people are cycling, so why can't we promote that in Sri Lanka? Now there are some unique problems that Sri Lanka has. What are these? Now you know we don't have cities. Even Colombo is not a city. It's not a planned city. Now our offices are in Colombo, and where do the people come? Maybe they are coming from Kalutara or Gampaha or Matugama, wherever. So we don't have our residences at the city scale. Okay, so you have to travel. So it is not a city culture, right? So people are coming from villages. So the distance is very high. So you can't bicycle. So bicycling is very good. Now, according to many researchers, the bicycling is good for some 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers. But beyond that, it's not going to help. Now people are not going to opt for that, right? Then we do not have any dedicated bicycle lanes. Now, of course, this RDA and this Dutch embassy, Netherlands embassy, and we have collaborated to have these bicycle lanes in this country. Maybe you remember some 1 year back, we marked some bicycle lanes in Colombo City, right? So these are some small steps that we are doing, but still that will have a vast difference. Then the problem is accident prone, so we do not have dedicated bicycle lanes. Now in this country that this lady is comfortably bicycling, but in our country we do not have this facility. So my question is, will Sri Lankans ever cycle? So I don't know. According to my research that I did, so we do not have very positive points on bicycling with the current situation. Maybe with bicycle lanes and all these facilities for bicycles, these would change, but not now, not with the existing infrastructure. Okay, so we have to research on this more. That is what I'm trying to tell. We have to research on this more. We have to think how we are going to improve bicycling, because that is one of the best transport methods, green transport methods. So I'm going to tell you something about a case study about the Gampaha interchange. Of course, this was the original design, having two interchanges. This was called Gampaha North interchange, and this is called Gampaha South interchange. Now, of course, by the highway design division, we change it into one interchange here. Okay, one interchange here. Here it was some trumpet type interchanges. Instead of these two interchanges, we developed it into one interchange with one link road. From this is Bandaranayaka College, and this is Y junction in Minuangoda Road. So this is one proposal that we did successfully at the Highway Design Division and Road Development Authority. So I am going to discuss a little bit about how, even with this small action, how we could attain some of the UN Sustainability Development Goals. Now there is a toll-free link road you can see here, right? This is a toll-free link road, and with this one, uh, so it would provide access to and for the two sides of Gampaha city divided by the railway line. Now Gampaha city is divided by railway line. There is only one flyover that you can cross. So with this you are going to get two such crossroads to go to and from both sides. Okay, so this goes to the fulfill decent work and economic growth in UN Sustainability Development Goals. And here we have provided walking, walking here, and encourage walking in the design through wide soft shoulder in the embankment section and a raised footwalk in the viaduct section. And with that we are going to reach economic growth due to accessibility and mobility enhancements. So I'm not going to discuss what is accessibility and mobility, because this is of course not a theoretical session, right? And then we could achieve industry innovation and infrastructure, resilient infrastructure. So vehicle parking facilities were provided. Now this is Gampaha Yakkala road, and this is our new design. With this new design, this is the link road. With the new link road we have provided parking, right? So why what is the importance of parking? Now this is a snapshot of Gampaha Yakkala road for the time being, extracted from Google Maps, Google Street View. Now you can see that since there are a lot of parking, what happens is there is a heavy congestion at the peak hours. So congestion means lot of carbon emissions. Okay, and here we could achieve less emissions, saving of vehicle operating cost, and sustainable city development. And again, with this toll free link road connecting Yakkala Road and Minwangoda Road, bypassing Gampaha City, we could achieve less emission, saving of vehicle operating cost, and enhance accessibility and mobility. Right, and then sustainable cities and in communities, that is goal number 11. So then we could consider 100-year flood, but always now, even before that also I told you that 100-year flood is not going to work, right? But anyway, as far as Sri Lanka is considered, it is not that affected by climate change yet. We are bit lucky. So for that we considered 100-year flood for the road also. Now usually for a road we do not consider 100-year flood. Okay, only the expressways we consider 100-year flood, but for the road as well we considered 100-year flood, so it is not going to be inundated. So it is coming something like design of resilient infrastructure and link road by bypassing Gampaha city, so it comes to like green cities and more livable city. And now removing this south interchange, now this is of course this was a paddy field. Now we could save a vast amount of paddy lands that were to be acquired for Gampaha south interchange, and we could achieve this saving of natural habitats and avoiding deforestation and desertification. So again we reach UN sustainability development goal of 50 life on land. So, sustainability. There are three pillars of sustainability: social, environmental, and economical. So, we could achieve all these three with one change in this design. So, social sustainability through connectivity for the people from both sides of Gampaha city, which is divided by rail line and city congestion, and increase of mobility and accessibility also improved. And then environmental sustainability we could achieve through saving of paddy fields and natural habitats, lesser pollution, lesser use of building materials, and avoiding deforestation and desertification of the area. And according to the cost saving, according to the calculation done by the planning division of RDA, a huge cost saving of rupees 592 million was possible with this change. So this is how we achieved sustainability goals, some of the sustainability goals through a design change. Okay, so these are the things that we have to try. So you can have now just think about some you know some reasonable designs, and now there may be some designs that come into and we can change it to reach sustainable goals, right? So yeah, now this is of course what I wanted to discuss with you today. Now I would like, we have 10 minutes more. Yeah, almost 10 minutes more. So I would like, if you have any questions, please ask me, so we'll discuss a little bit about novel age highway design challenges. Okay. Yeah, now of course this this knowledge challenges. Of course, this may be quite a new concept in Sri Lanka. Because we are not considering this now. Have you heard about climate change and how we are going to adapt these things into engineering and things? These are some new concepts. So maybe you might have a lot of questions. So I would rather prefer if you can raise your hand and ask me some questions. So we'll discuss a little bit. Don't worry. Yeah, so I think we have so many participants, around 30, 35 or something. Okay. So anything you want to know from me? Now, I'm not a climate change expert at all. What I just wanted to tell you was something about how we are going to adapt to climate change and how we are going to do different designs. So on that line, if anything that you want to know, yeah, there is a chat coming. So we'll see. Thanks. Yes. So if you don't have any question, then we'll wind up. I think.
Guys, if you have any question, you can ask via message by text. One question, Mr. Engineer Salavita.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. Higher the design life shall increase the materials quantity required that will add to the increased carbon footprint and will activate the climate change that we might need to further increase the design life for flood, I think. Flood next time. Hence design is very important for minimizing the materials use and will help you save goals as well. Very useful explanation. But in Sri Lanka this was in the other way and spent very high cost solutions for highway construction. Please further elaborate and comment is appreciated, such as Hambantota road network. Yeah, now the thing is this, that is what I'm telling. Now everything has to be done according to plan. Now Hambantota, of course, it is not a blunder at all. There is something called three city concepts in Sri Lanka. So that means that we are going to serve this country with three cities, that is Colombo, Hambantota and Katunayake, right? So what happened was, now for a city to survive there should be an industry. Now what the government plan, as far as I know, is to the Hambantota port. To the Hambantota port there would be a mega city in Hambantota. That is how they plan. But unfortunately what happened was, there were so many problems with Hambantota port. There was a rock, and now the insurance companies like Lloyd's, therefore they didn't provide insurance. So the the ships and things, they didn't come to um Hambantota port. So I think therefore this became a failure. So but only thing is, when an industry comes, you have to have the relevant infrastructure. So as far as I know, that was what the government was going to do. And but we have to have something like proper planning for everything. Now, I'm not going to justify or something, but this is the thing. Now as engineers, of course, we have to plan everything in advance. Yeah, another chat. what will be the best solution at junction, either applying color lights or using normal roundabout design as concerning time savings and environmental effects. Now the thing is this, now the roundabout, you can't say either roundabout or signal lights. A roundabout is used for some situations and signal light is used for another situation. There is some uh, traffic threshold for a roundabout. Beyond that, of course, you cannot have a roundabout. It's not going to work. So you have to go for color lights. So why the color lights fail in this country mostly? Uh, now maybe maybe I'll do another lecture someday. I have got an invitation with this another organization, so maybe I can elaborate on this. The thing is, why the signal designs failed in this country is because the traffic is much higher. Even it has gone beyond the traffic signal threshold. So we'll have to go for some other methods, like you just think that flyover is not a solution. It just shifts the congestion in this junction to another junction. So maybe we'll have to think about other possible solutions, like restricting the private car usage, or promoting the public transport and things. These things we'll have to do. That is why now, because we cannot talk about either roundabout or signal. So roundabout is for one situation and signal is for another situation, and you are asking me time savings and environmental effects. Environmental effects, of course, the roundabout is the best, because it is self-regulating. Okay, so you don't want electricity for that. Should we have to use AI for this signal light problem? Yeah, that's good, right? Using AI is good, because then we can go for coordinated signal and things. But the problem is, to use AI, we have to have a proper detective method. So how we are going to detect a vehicle? Then only it can do calculations. Okay, but the problem is, to buy this infrastructure, I don't think we have money. Now, some few years back, we were trying to implement, like intelligent transport systems, ITS. So that means you are going to calculate the traffic signal calculations on site. So the thing is always, we have economic problems in this country, so we cannot import all these things. And other thing is, you just think, so why we are allowing the police officers to give you a ticket? Okay, so that is not very proper, because then the police officer is taking the judgment there. The best thing is to record everything and then put that into the courts. Okay, so that may be the best thing. So but to do that, we have to have these sophisticated cameras and everything. So we don't have that much of money. And is there any plan now being implementing in RDA regarding the today's topic? Now this. United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, it is a government priority, because the Sri Lanka is a signatory. So everything we are doing, we have to consider the sustainability. So there is nothing called a separate directive saying, okay, you have to consider sustainability development goals. But once a country becomes a signatory to some international convention, all government agencies have to work in accordance. Yeah, any other questions?
Hello, I'm Samaratunga,
Yeah.
one of your schoolmate. Do you
Yeah,
remember?
I remember. Yes.
Yeah. This is regarding I'm working in the water sector.
Yeah.
In that sector, when we consider the climate change, we design for a short design horizon. That
Yeah.
means short-term planning, not for long-term planning. In the your that highway sector, do you do the same thing or what? The
Yeah.
arrangement. In our case, it's the climate change we can't predict now. Therefore, we don't go for a 50 years design horizon. Like we go for a 5 years, and in that way, we can minimize the damage. Otherwise, if we design long term, later if the unpredicted something happen, then we can't that design or that the structure will be obsolete. Something like that happen in our case in the water sector. We, due to environmental issues, the cases are there. Therefore, in highway sector, how is you handle that case?
Yeah, now the problem is, actually speaking, nobody knows how climate change is happening. So, now
Yeah, yeah,
earlier we thought, okay, right. So we'll go for 25 years period, return period, or we'll go
yeah,
for 50-year return period. Now the thing is, we don't know when will the next mega flood come. So therefore,
yeah,
we don't have a method to design for that. But of course, that is why many people are researching on that. So we have to find a pattern, at least a pattern or something like that. Now, that is why the resilient infrastructure means that we are not going to plan for that flood. We are going to live with it. Now, as an example, if the flood is coming, now just think about a small township. If the flood is coming, we have to live with the flood. That means if one road is going to be inundated with the flood, we have to have another road that is not going to be inundated with the flood. So that is the plan currently being implemented worldwide. Otherwise we don't have any not even in RDA we cannot do, because Sri Lanka is a poor country, so we have very little budget for research and things. But even in countries like Australia also, now last day I attended one of their webinars, this by Ostros. Now they are going to give up the words like return period, 100-year flood. Now they are going to have some new terminology like the probability of exceedance. Like, so the people are still researching. Now for the time being, we do
yeah.
not have such method.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah. I hear.
Yeah, yeah, I'm Pubudu.
Yes.
Um, this is not much of a question. It's kind of a suggestion. I mean, I like your presentation. It's very good.
Thank you.
And as you said, it's a very new area to Sri Lanka. Uh, Even the times we did our studies, we didn't consider this type of situations uh, when we were studying. Um, my suggestion is there a possibility that that whoever can get together and create a policy or some guideline, uh, not only to design, even for construction, considering these aspects of climate change, which you have presented in your presentation. For example, like using local materials. Now, I remember when I was working in a road project, they were looking for some specific, CBR values and other properties of the road construction materials. So is the the thing is, if we have to meet those criteria, we may have to import materials from long distances. So I think those things has to be also looked into when we if we want to really implement what you have just presented.
Well, the thing is, with this economic crisis, that everything has been delayed. Now, I of course think If we are going to adapt for the climate change, we have to have something like presidential workforce or something for throughout all the industries. It's not only highway, it's not only building, so it is not only electricity. So we have to have a road plan or a road map how we are going to implement these things in our country. Ours is a small country, but the effects of climate change are not small. So for the first time in my lifetime, in year 2016, uh, whole my hometown, whole Kadwela town was flooded. Okay, that is all I know, because now the things are getting now after that, even in year 2017 also the same flood came, almost same. Only thing was that the period was a bit less. Now for these things, I think, of course, yeah, professionals have to get together and they have to discuss what we are going to do and how they can be implemented, and we have to have we have to get some expertise from the people who are actually engaging in these things, like Europe and America. Yes, I agree with you. So I think that mostly the professionals have a big role to play in this matter.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's correct. So, I mean, as responsible authority, can't RDA like pilot this as a uh, example project, or like a former work group to create a policy or something for actually to implement, where people can actually make use of it.
Yeah, of course, RDA can in some extent, but what I understand is, now this is not a like this is not a small thing. Now you talked about the CBR. Now CBR is one of the best ways that we know how to get the subway strength. So if you are going to reduce the, like if you are going to give a lesser value for CBR value, of course that payment is going to fail. So in that case, we have to think now, if there are some local materials, so maybe we'll have to think about how we are going to improve it, how we are going to improve its qualities, like that. So otherwise, if we are going to go for some different methodology, of course we have to go for research. So this thing, I don't think we have funds or anything for such bigger researches. But now, as an example, you just think now regarding highway design, we are using Ostrods, and for the pavement design, we are using some British standards. Expressive designs, we are using some Astra standards. So why? Because we do not have funds for research. So, but I think, of course, there is a lot RDA can do, but not everything. But the thing is, with limited funds.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Engineer Sunet, I think we can finish it now, no?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
so.
yeah, Engineer Sunet Salvedana, thank you very much, sir. Again, wish you all the best as well for your future works, to keep a good work ahead. So, on behalf of the ISL Kagos District Center, by the time I forgot to mention my name. My name is Patiratna, Secretary to ISL Kagol District Center. This current session, and as well as I would like to again thanks to the my president, Engineer Daraka Vitarna, together with all the executive members. Special thanks to the engineer Inan. Thank you very much, Engineer Inan, supporting us to connecting by connecting Engineer Sunet to this session. I think this short session went very well. I think hope you all agree with me. Then hope you meet. We hope meet you again with this kind of valuable session. Let me finish this session until meet again. Thank you very much, Engineer Sunet, and all you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Of course, I think it is a very big privilege for me to address you all. and thanks for your kind invitation to IESL Kegalle chapter, and especially my friend engineer Inan, and all you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.